Bonjour, Kinamage and Ireland edition class, and welcome to this technology lesson. Today's episode from 21 Things for Students, Basics, Quest 6. We'll begin at the page, and this page is linked in this Google Classroom post. And the first thing you should do is scroll down and find your student checklist. It will open up this Google Doc. And the next step is you need to make a copy for yourself. So you click File, you're going to scroll down where it says Make a Copy. I recommend you put your name. So in my case, it'll be Mike. And then it'll save it to your folder. Sometimes it takes a second. Now, my next step is I want to share it with the teacher. So you put in mireland@psychchipschool.net and then send. So now whenever I do the assignment, your progress is shared with me. I could go through and say, oh, little Johnny or Susie has done a marvelous job. They're done, or they're almost done, or whatever the situation may be. Once you've done that, you can close out the old one because you don't need it anymore. So make sure your name's on it. Teacher name, it's fine if you put it, don't have to. I'm cool if you don't. Date, not really that important. So each of these are going to be a step. Read the introduction, the I can statements, key vocabulary. Took the key vocabulary Quizlet. Located and read my school's acceptable use policy, which you might not have access to at this time. And if that's the case, we just skip it. Mark it as done. Or look back at last year's where the document you signed saying that you have to, use it responsibly. You can't do things that are illegal or unethical, those kind of things. So a lot of these steps you will end up skipping in the middle. And that's okay for today. So the first thing you do, you go back here, and I'm not going to go all the way through this with you. I'm just going to get you started. Let's start with the direct video link. So I like to always recommend starting here.
I know. He gives so much homework. We will be lucky to get out of there with a B. I have to go talk to Eric for a minute. I'll catch up with you later. Hey man, what are you doing in here? Studying? Don't you have tech class or something now?
I did. I kind of messed up.
How so?
Well, I got myself kicked out of technology class and off the computer for a month.
Why? What did you do?
Well, do you know what an AUP is?
You mean an acceptable use policy? Those things we sign at the beginning of the year before we even get on computers?
Right. Well, apparently they also say that getting on the computer is more of a privilege, and if you aren't responsible on the computer, you may lose your right to get on.
This is a library, gentlemen.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's keep the volume down, please.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. Tough crowd. Anyway, yes, I know what you mean about AUPs. You can lose certain privileges if you don't abide by the agreement that you signed.
Well, I kind of did some stuff I shouldn't have. I went onto some sites that weren't school appropriate and logged onto another student's account.
Ouch. That's a bummer. Not smart, man.
I know, I messed up. Now I have to do a Spanish class independent study for the rest of the year.
That's my cue, Eric. Keep your chin up. Make better decisions on the computer next time. Adios, amigo.
Hasta mañana.
All right, so my next step would be to read the introduction. This quest is about being wise about the username and password you select. There are a lot of tips on selecting smart ones. Start with part 1, learning about the AUP, which you're not going to be able to do a whole lot with today, and that's all right. I want you to be aware of such a thing for past years and for your future. Then part 2 to see how your good judgment is, or good your judgment is. And finally, part 3 for tips about passwords and usernames. Now, in this case, a lot of what we've done with usernames and passwords has been provided to you by your teacher. But in the real world, you have your own resources that you use, your own games you play. And this is where it can apply. It doesn't have to be just in the school setting. This might be on your Xbox account or a game you play. I can statements list 3 key points from your school's AUP, which you won't be able to do, and that's okay. Create a strong username and password, so you'll know how to do that. Know tips on how to keep a mobile device safe and secure, and collaborate constructively with others. Key vocabulary. Username. The username is a name that uniquely identifies someone on a computer system, such as Ireland at our sitechipschool.net. AUP is an acceptable use policy, a document that outlines a set of rules to be followed by users on a network or website. And you've seen those definitely in the past, the documents that come in our school handbook. Password is a secret word or phrase used to identify a user to gain admission to an account, and sometimes called a passcode. I'm going to be real with you. Some of the ones we use, I wouldn't recommend in other situations. We always joke around about, the password being password. If this was your banking account, you definitely wouldn't want to do that. An SSO refers to something called a single sign-on that is frequently used by school districts. But it's a student log on only once to access different resources provided by the district and helps protect users and their accounts. So play the vocabulary game below to practice the key vocabulary. So before we go on, let's check where we're at in our list. We've read the introduction that I can, so you marked it off. Now we'll do that Quizlet. And remember, this makes it expand. And let's start the game. SSO, single sign-on, username, name that uniquely identifies. So AUP, an acceptable use policy. Password, a secret phrase. Bam, 10.5. You could try it. Bet you can even do better than that. But the cool part is we just did the next activity in 10 seconds. I'm going to give you permission to do this and this already. And we'll move down to part 2, the judgment call. So if I want to minimize, remember, plus makes it bigger, minus makes it smaller. You're going to skip down to judgment call and work your way through. So check with your teacher and discuss the following with your class and your group of friends. Would you do this? Would you recommend it? And you can write the answer, class discussion, and what I do. So if we're not part of the class discussion, you can just write it in there. What would you do? Be reasonable. Don't put silly answers. Think about this was actually live in class. Once you're done with that part, you're going to go to usernames. I would watch the video, watch other videos that are in here as well. And then you get down here to mobile safety and security. Obviously, by completing this assignment, you did not read the AUP. We're pretending you did. If you did, you might have had it earlier at the beginning. Once you have all of these things checked off, you're done. It shouldn't take super long. And if you've watched the video to this part, you can mark off the things that we've done. You don't have to start over. I would recommend starting at the Quizlet and trying it yourself, because the vocabulary is important and you'll need these resources in the future. Once you get all the way to the end, that's it. If you are incomplete on some of these, navigation, image capture, shortcuts, web browsers, or tech gymnastics, do make sure you get them done. While it's not a part of your report card, it's a very important skill to have. Hopefully early in the next quarter, we'll be going to visual learning and then to My Digital Life. Depending on how you guys want to do this year. Right now we're doing 1 per week, but we could consider moving it to 2 per week. But that will be with the discussion with our class and not necessarily an administrative decision. It would be awesome if we could get through 6 or 7 before the end of the school year. I'm not sure how reasonable that is based on the process that we're going through and being remote learning and all of the different things. But it is an option for us. You can see that individual learning, there's only 4. My Digital Life, there's another 4 with a graduation. Sweet Tools, definitely be focusing on those couple. So a lot of them are pretty short. We have a chance to get through to the 7 before the end of the year. And if you're interested, and let's say you're like, I really want to know about social networking. On your own time, you could engage in this. And you can see that there are 4 quests and a couple additional. Do the same thing. Share it with me. I'll be able to mark it off that you did a good job and you're done. But you're welcome to choose your own adventure on the ones beyond number 7. We probably won't get down to 14 unless we make a class decision. The more you have done, the better opportunities you'll have to easily transition back into the tech classes in person next fall. All right, at this point, you should continue on with the website. Do what you need to do. If you need reminders, have the video going while you do this thing, while you share the documents or make copies if you need reminders. Once you do it a few times, you'll remember it. Try to put you up a step up going into your next year. If you have any questions, please do ask me in one of our office hours. We do tech most days, even if it's not something that is on our topic. We are here at office hours and during our independent work time. That's a good opportunity. Hope you all have a Minno Gijgat, Minwa, Mama P.